My name is Isha Sampson, and today on Baptism Overland, part 3 of our Jeep Cargo Storage Organization Overhaul. God, that's a mouthful. Well, here we are almost at the finish line. If you've been following along, then you'll know that I've been rebuilding the storage area of my Jeep. And so far, we've got that one toolbox in there. And today, we're going to start tackling the drawer system on the left-hand side. Now I'm getting kind of nervous because I've never done drawers before. It shouldn't be that hard. I've watched enough videos and have talked to as many people as I possibly could. So I feel confident that I can accomplish it. I'm pretty handy when it comes to making things out of wood. I am not like the best, but I think that I can probably accomplish this task. But truth be told, I am so ready to finish this build. Like, I know it's about the journey and not the destination. And yeah, I'm having a great time building. I'm learning about new tools. I'm kind of honing in my craft. It's been a blast, but I'm just so ready to start organizing all this gear that's just been sitting in my garage. I think I should be able to accomplish this within the next couple of days. So just to recap, so far we have built the platform, and then in the second video we built this toolbox with the Pelican case mounted in the front. Our goal now is to build the drawer part of this system. The drawer will be great because the drawer will pull out. I'll be able to keep all my overlanding gear in there, and then below that I'm going to have a pull-out shelf that you can just use to, brew coffee, or just use basically as a platform, as a table for something small. I got the slides, I bought them, and I bought the lumber that I needed, so let's just get going. So I removed the platform and the utility box from the Jeep. Reason I did that is it'll just be so much easier to get dimensions and measure everything out while this is out of the Jeep and it's not in such a cramped area. The first thing I want to accomplish is getting the base built out for the drawer system. That'll be the sides and the back. We're going to be using a thicker plywood because that's going to be basically the structural part of that system. It doesn't have to be the nice kind because, again, you're never going to see it, especially on this side and the back. And on that side, you'll never see it. It's going to be completely hidden. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so here's the box laid next to the other box. You'll see that it looks really nice. It fits really perfectly. There's a couple of things. You'll see that this is actually much shorter than these. And I made this shorter than these because I needed to clear the bracket that's back there. That way it's not rubbing up against this and I can go as far back as I can possibly go. I reused some of my old wood. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and sand this down, fill it in with wood putty in the areas where there's holes, sand the whole thing real nicely, paint it, that way it's ready to go, strap it down to here, and then once I have it locked into place, I can go ahead and start adding the slides and then measuring how big I can actually make the drawer system. We're not going to touch the top yet. We're going to do that at the very, very end. Once we have everything fitting and moving nicely, then I can go ahead and create the top. Alright, so now I have the drawer base attached to the box that we built in the previous video, and now all we have to do is build the drawer system inside this unit here. Now you're probably wondering why I had routed out a humongous hole in the middle of my platform like this. Well, this was sort of the surprise that I said I had for you guys, which is allowing you access to that cubby that the Jeep has. all the Jeeps have that cubby in there where you can put stuff, and it's usually accessible by that little floor panel that flips up. Well, a lot of times when you build platform systems like this, you give up that little cubby and you can no longer use it. I wanted to somehow utilize that space because it's there, so I cut out a hole, and this hole, you won't even see it when the drawer is in here and it's closed. However, if you want access to it, you just open the drawer all the way out. You can even pull the drawer completely off, and now you have access to that little tiny cubby. So I would advise that you don't put anything in that cubby that you need often, because getting to it is going to be a little bit of a pain by pulling the drawers off. What I want to put in that cubby though are items that I may never need but would be glad to have. So for example, I have jumper cables that I want to bring. I usually don't need that anymore because I have a jump pack. I can also probably put spare parts in there, like an extra quart of oil or whatever. I can put it in that little cubby. It's kind of out of the way. It's not taking up any room in my storage system. And when worse comes to worse and I actually need those items, then I can just pull the drawer off, and then I'll be able to access that cubby. And then when I'm done, put the drawers back on and slide it back in, and you'll never know it's there. So that's something that I wanted to do that I figured, would take advantage of that space. Otherwise, everything else is all set up and ready to go. We're going to call it a day for right now, but the next step is to go ahead and start building out the drawers. Once the drawers are done, then I'm going to go ahead and put the top on, and we are done. All right, now that I have the base of the drawer built out and installed where I want it to be, the next step is to go ahead and add the drawer slides. Now, drawer slides can get a little tricky simply because you want to make sure that wherever you put it on this side is also the same space that you put it on the other side. Otherwise, if it's a little off, then your drawer won't open and close correctly. I will try to make it as easy as possible. Rather than using measuring tape and kind of figuring out the lines and making sure that they're level, I think I have an easier solution. We'll just take the drawer slide and line it up to the front of the drawer base, so we know that it'll be the same on both sides if we line it up to the front. And then as far as where we put it on this plane, I just took a piece of wood that I've already cut down to size of the height that I want it to be, put it up here, clamp it down to the top of the drawer base so that it's even, and then go ahead and rest the slide right to that. And now I'll know that when I transfer this wood to the other side, it'll be the same on both sides. Alright, so the drawer slides have been installed and they're ready to go. I went ahead and put a level on there just to double check and make sure we are even, and it looks like we are good on both sides. All I got to do now is just build out the drawers. I'm going to take a couple more measurements just to double check my figures, make sure everything is looking good. And then tomorrow, once we get that drawer built out, I'm going to attach the other end of the drawer slide to the drawers, and then hopefully it'll slide in there with no problems. But we're going to do all that tomorrow. It's getting pretty late for me to cut any wood without waking my neighbors, and also need to get some rest. So we will see you in the morning. All right, so today we are building out the drawer. As you can see, I have the drawer base here, and right here I went ahead and put down a piece of wood that's about a 1/2 inch thick. This will not actually be attached to the drawer. This actually just acts as a spacer, because when you build out your drawer, you don't want to build a drawer that goes all the way to the ground. Otherwise, you won't be able to slide it in and out of there without it rubbing up against the platform. So we put down this piece here, and then all I have to do is measure from the bottom of this to about 1/2 inch below the top of this. So that way the drawer won't also rub up against the roof of this frame. You want it to be about 1/2 inch from the bottom and 1/2 inch from the top, and that'll give you just enough play for this to slide over. Also, on the platform of the Jeep, we have a little piece of metal bar there, and I don't want the drawer to run into that, so we have to be able to clear those things. So 1/2 inch from the bottom, 1/2 inch from the top. And from front to back, I'm just going to use the same length that the drawer slides are. That way the drawer doesn't hit the back of the frame here. It'll stop somewhat short to it. And then once I have all the pieces cut out, I'm going to attach the slides to the drawer for the pull-out cutting board. So I'll show you how we do all that, but let's get to cutting and start assembling. Alright, so the drawer is pretty much done, looking pretty good. I used 3/8 plywood for the floor of it, and then on the sides I just used 1/2 inch plywood, and then in the back I used a piece of 3/8 plywood also, but this was a scrap that I had from my old kit. So I'm gonna just reuse it and sand it down, make it look really nice. I plugged up the holes with some putty, and then it should look pretty good. If you'll notice, this also drops off, and the reason why is because the slides here at the bottom, they only go this length, right? So basically beyond that, there's nothing. So if I were to make this all flat, I'm pretty much wasting a lot of space. So what I just did was I dropped this one down, made this one halfway, and then this will just go right in here. And that'll just kind of give me like a deeper well to put other stuff that I might need. So that kind of gives separation for taller stuff back here, and then whatever else I want to put in the rest of the drawer. And while I was cutting this apart, you'll also notice that I made grooves along the side here. I did that on purpose. I will show you what I'm going to do with that later. And here at the bottom, the slides are working really good. Slides out really nice. All I got to do now is build a cutting board that will fit in here, and then I'll stain that. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and sand this thing down, just make it look really nice, and then I'm going to paint it. While that's drying, I will build out the cutting board that will go here, and then when that's done, I'll stain that because I don't want to use truck liner for that. I'll just go ahead and stain it, make it look really nice. And then after that, paint the rest, and we should be good to go to install tomorrow. Alright, now that the drawer has been painted and it's dry, it's now time to attach it to the frame itself. So what I did was I went ahead and put both of them on a flat surface. Make sure that you're completely flat there because you don't want any kind of leeway on this thing for it to bob up and down. You want it to be perfectly aligned with the frame. And then I pulled out the slide. So as you can see, pulling out the slide there, matching it up to the front. We'll go ahead and screw that in, and that should be good. I put the spacer here. This is the spacer that I was showing you in the beginning. That will just allow us to make sure that we are not anchoring this straight to the ground, or else that drawer won't go in and out. So the spacer will just give us that ground clearance, and then once we screw this in, it should be able to slide freely in and out. I also want to make sure that I am cleared up here so that it doesn't hit the top either. Alright, now that I know everything works perfectly, all that's left to do now is to create the cutting board for the front, and then obviously create a top for here. As you can see, the paint's not good over here, and I did that because you're never going to see this side anyway. It'll be pressed up against the other box. So that's pretty much it. And there it is. It looks awesome. I mean, yeah, things could be perfected, but man, I'm glad there's a drawer system that works. There's a slide that works for the bottom for the pull-out shelf. We also got our toolbox in there with the Pelican case mounted to the front. It just looks mm, it's exactly how I visioned it in my head, and now I have a flat space in which I can start storing stuff and not have this little step down thing that I had in my previous cargo box. Now, the drawer systems were a lot easier than I thought they were going to be. I hyped myself in my head that it was going to be this difficult thing, and it really wasn't that bad. It's really just about making sure that the slides are aligned with the drawer and you're good. Now, are there mistakes? Hell yes. There's a ton of mistakes on here that you just probably didn't see on camera, but they weren't costly mistakes. You know, it wasn't like my measurements were off. I'm always measuring twice, cutting once. It was on point, but there were little things that, you know, I didn't take into account that I had to learn on the spot. You can't get worse at something, right? Like who you were yesterday is going to be a different person than who you are today, unless you're an idiot and can't learn from your mistakes. You can't get bad at something. Now, you may not necessarily be the best, but you get better. So even if this wasn't like super duper perfect laser cut type of finish, I learned a lot of things, and I know that by the next time, if I ever redo this kind of build again, or if I build this for someone else, I know that it's going to be even more precise and even better. But right now, it's looking good. I mean, like, I can't ask for anything more. So that's it for pretty much the majority of the build. And I'm kind of glad for that too, because I am ready to reclaim this garage from all this sawdust and all this lumber that's just sitting here. My garage is a mess right now, y'all, but we're getting there, finishing this up in the next couple of days or so, and then I can reclaim this garage. So stay tuned for part 4, our final video in this series. And this is where I'm going to do a couple of organizational touches that is pretty awesome. I bought some really cool gear that I'm going to use. I'm going to show that to you in the next video. And then I'm also going to build out a little tray that's going to sit on top of the drawer so that we kind of have a flat surface and it's not just a well to put stuff. I want like some sort of flat surface there so we can rest drinks, or I can put my cookers on there or whatever it is. So we're going to build that out in the next episode. So make sure you stick around for that. By the way, do you guys like the hoodie? Because I made it myself. I only made one. It's a picture of my Jeep. I used my vinyl cutter and my heat press. And the reason I'm asking is because I am considering opening up a website and selling Baptism Overland merch. If that's something that you think would interest you or you would buy from that, hit me in the comments below and let me know, because I'm still trying to make up my mind on whether or not I want to go down this path. I kind of do, because I have some really cool merch ideas. But if you're interested in that, let me know. But until then, don't forget, again, stick around for the last and final episode of this series. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget, follow us on Instagram at Baptism Overland. My name is Asia Sampson, and I will see you next time.